Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this webinar on behalf of the Barcelona Expat Week. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Victor Saura. I am a journalist and I run a digital newspaper in Catalan that is focused on education. Okay, so I guess this is why they have invited me to moderate this webinar and not because of my English. Okay, we are going to have in this webinar two very interesting points of view, especially for people who don't know very well how is the Catalan education system. First, we're going to hear Neus Lorenzo. She is an inspector of education in Barcelona, and someone who is an inspector of education is someone who has had a lot of years of service in the system, because first she has been probably a teacher and then a director and so on. And plus Neus has held also several other positions in the Catalan administration. So I'm sure she has a lot of, or a very broad overview about how the system is. And then we're going to listen to Julie Harris. She is the director of the Oak House International School. And she also is the president of an association that it's called, let me say it, Barcelona International Schools Association, which is written BISA with a B. And this is an association that groups 12 international schools that are located in the Barcelona area. So we have asked both of them to speak for no longer than 15 minutes because we want to listen to your questions. And well, I know it's difficult to summarize some things in only 15 minutes, but that's how it is, and if not, I will have to remind them that they have to end. So where do you have to write down your questions? There is below your screen, there is a chat button that you can start using right now and write down whatever question you have. If there are many questions, once we start with this, I will have to select some of them. But I'm going to try to put them all on, okay? And if not, if there are some questions that are not answered during this webinar, the organization has said that they promise that you will get the final answer, okay? So okay, so that's for me, and so I leave you now with Neus Lorenzo. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to try to be short presenting this, but I have to say that there are a lot of information. There is a lot of information that you can find later in this presentation. So please feel free to find, oops, doesn't really seem to work now. Again, share screen, now I have it. Good. Oops, now it's done. I've done it before, it worked, so, okay. I just was saying that in this particular moment, we're going to serve certain data, certain information you might need, but I leave a presentation for you to explore the links later on, so it will help your decision-making process, I'm sure. We'll do just a brief visit to where, what, and how we do education in the educational system. So we are in Catalonia, which is one of the Catalan language territories in Spain and in the rest of Europe. But at the same time, we share the language with other areas. It is the 16% of the Spanish population. Catalonia is bigger than Belgium, but smaller than the Netherlands. And I have to say that it's divided in 10 educational territories for education. So we have those particular serveis territorials, which are local areas that have their supervision, support, and their information locations and offices. The idea of having a particular local language is not exclusive of Catalonia. We also have the same in Galicia or in País Basque, and they have their local language too. And there are 17 autonomous communities in Spain that have their educational authorities, their little ministry of education. And if we have to say that there is a common curriculum for all of them, the territories with particular language, local language, can have part of the curriculum adapted to the culture and the local speakers. So you'll find differences between different provinces or different territories or autonomies in Spain. It's also important to see that what we are trying to do in Catalonia is not just learning knowledge, but learning to learn and learning to live together. And the most important part for us is that what I know, how I learn it, and why I need to learn it, and how I need to share it, will compound a different curricula for everybody, different curriculum, because we are working with knowledge, critical thinking, soft skills, internationality, also sort of ethical acceptance of diversity, this sensitivity we would like all our students have and all our citizens now and in the future develop in this territory. So it's not about just learning many languages, or it's not about flags. It's about trying to develop a common project, a global culture where everybody can just be themselves and different, but at the same time be part of the whole picture. So equity, social cohesion, personalization, and acceptance of the different issue is part of the curriculum itself. If I had to just present the educational system, this would be the picture. I leave it here because it's easy for you to explore it later. We have preschool education, primary education, secondary education, and then baccalaureate, or we also have vocational education. That's not different from other countries in Europe. So we have from 0 to 3, it's kindergarten. From 3 on, you will find it fully funded in the schools, what we call escoles. So from 3 to 16, it's what we consider to be the ordinary school, the normal education for everybody. It is compulsory from 6 years on, but I have to say 90% of the population goes from 3 years on because 3 years old, because it's really ready for that. The public schools, institutes, escoles, or Institut Escola, which are together, that's quite recent, even if before it was also in Catalonia, they develop a common itinerary, but with a strong autonomy in every school. And that's different from other territories in Spain. Every school have their own program, their own particular project that can be different from one to another, even in the same village. And what's common? Well, fully funded schooling over 3 years old, that's for everybody. Even if it is a private school funded by the government from 3 years old, they have the same system. The languages we are teaching are the local and the official languages. So we have Spanish, Catalan, Aranese, or Occitan in certain areas in the north of the country. And in primary, we add a foreign language, mainly English, I have to say, but there are schools that are offering 2 foreign languages in primary school until 12 years old, and also programs for minority family languages that they do in the same school. It can be Romanian, Urdu, it can be Ukrainian, it can be different languages according to what the school wants to develop, or known if they are not pulling or putting the efforts in there. Secondary schools from 12 to 16, they have the same Spanish, Catalan, English, and usually a second foreign language. they can also offer German or Italian, and they are usually also involved in those minority family languages. So compulsory education should offer the level of B2 for all the official languages, at least, and B1 for foreign languages. We'll see that we are not far away from that. And baccalaureate start artists and mathematical or social languages or social science for everybody. We'll see that. But it's also an important offer. We have also an important offer of baccalaureate for French, for instance, French culture included in ours. So we have Bac, which is offering both the Spanish and the French, or the international baccalaureate, which is also a specific version. We'll talk about these in a minute. These also end up offering a higher level of results, C1 for local languages, for official languages, or even for the ones they've been involved in, B2 at least for those which are foreigner. And most of the questions we have is how are they going to be put when they arrive here in Catalonia? Well, from 3 to 16 years old, they are just inserted in the level according to age. They don't need to say or to demonstrate anything else. From 3 to 16, they go according to age. Then if they want to go to a baccalaureate, they need a compulsory education certificate. So we need 10 years of primary and secondary. It means that if the secondary in their country is lower than 2 years, 3 years, whatever, we also need 10 years of local compulsory education. So they might have an exam for just demonstrate the achievement in secondary before starting post-secondary. So I leave this here for you to go on with this one. But it's also important to point out that it doesn't matter if it is a private or a public school funded with the state money, because they function just with the same common general curricula with very strong pedagogical autonomy. In the Escola Pública, what we call directly funded, it can belong to the Department of Education or to the municipality. They are different administrations, but they are just the same style in the sense of the same curricula and the same autonomy, autonomy that belongs to the school. La Escola Concertada, which is private but directly funded, it can be religious or not, it can be a cooperative, but also has the same educational system. There are private schools which have different curricula, some of them foreign curricula, French one or Swiss one or whatever, but or a different ownership or consortia. If they have the same recognition, they follow the common general curriculum plus other baccalaureate and other lines that can be also added to the ones they perform or they offer. If we think about the results, in 4th ESO, which is the end of compulsory education, our indicators say that most of the children have not bad results at the end. Actually, in primary, in first language or second language, which is Catalan or Spanish, you have here the results. It's not so different. The first language, the first foreign language, also with similar data. If we think about the 4th language or the 5th language, it depends then, because obviously not everybody does it. We also have a whole system of inclusion and personalization. I also leave this information here for you to develop that. We are based on immersion for lower courses, for help everybody to get to the same pole of starting point, and then personalization. Here you will find a lot of project work about a lot of content and language integrated learning, ICT, and very different programs that can be even not only in the school itself, but in a network. So there is a network of Horizon 2030 achievement for Sustainable Development Goals. There is a network of UNESCO schools. There is a network for whatever. There are a lot of them in Barcelona, and competencias básicas, which is basic skills promotion. And the lifelong learning process is the objective for everybody. If we think about post-obligatory offer, we have the baccalaureate, the French baccalaureate that is taught together with a Spanish one. If they just achieve the final studies with these two baccalaureate, they can go either to the university in Barcelona, in Catalonia or Spain, and the university in France. The condition to access is a good level of French. We have it here. The final, if they pass all the external exams, they have the recognition of the level they've achieved. And the 33% of the curriculum is taught in French, with a special emphasis on literature, French, and so on. The participation of Catalonia in this baccalaureate of both countries is quite high, higher than in other autonomies. I have here the autonomies just to compare. And it is not just in Barcelona. You can find it in different areas, in different places in Catalonia. Another important baccalaureate that is offered, the international baccalaureate, I think Julie Harris will talk about it later too, so I'm just passing on, should be recognized together with the Spanish baccalaureate to be effective into the university in general, state university. But it also has its own recognition. You know that here you can have a lot of different models because it's different according to every specific autonomous project in the school. So there are public schools that offer that, private schools that offer this international baccalaureate. They work closely with the local authorities to be recognized and to be homologated, but it's true that they need different adjustments according to every offer. I have just picked up the list of the 6 institutes here in Catalonia, not only in Barcelona, but different places where you can do that. But there are many private schools that do it widely developed and with very good results also. There is a virtual conference in the future. I leave it here because I've been told that it would be uploaded in the web later, so you can use it and download the presentation, see all the links. And if you ask why we adding the languages as part of the issue of the Catalan educational system, well, I have to say that it's not just for putting language on, it's for really be involved in maintaining biodiversity and cultural diversity. It's not just taking care of the animals or the plants that will be more sustainable, is that we'll really have to take care of our diversity as human species. I mean, I think it's important to see that the benefits for resilience, for a wider adaptation, for a more ethical society respecting diversity is also part of this acceptance. And I think it's important to see that it's not just by exclusion that we'll have it. We'll have to work on trying to have a system that it's respectful, and it shouldn't be nor equity nor exclusion for anybody. No newcomers, no people that are here with different cultures, backgrounds, or languages. So it's quite inclusive. It should be very welcoming. And if there is something to improve in there, it's part of our challenges. We really have to make it clear that what we are working for is to work for the human diversity, the cultural diversity, and the enrichment for everybody in diversity. Only 10% of languages are active in internet, and only 20% of them have a political state that maintains their educational system in shape. So we have 75% of languages that can't guarantee 3 generations continuity. And I think it's a responsibility for everybody to learn as many languages as possible in the places where we are living, working, and sharing. Because the risk of losing them is really high, not only in this part of Europe, but everywhere in the world. And when a language or a culture disappear, and they are languages that are spoken only for 8 people, 12 people, 15 people, what we don't realize is that the whole culture vanishes, a whole unique way of understanding the world, of seeing the universe, and of identifying themselves and with others. So we need plural students that are diverse and that can learn many languages, because it's not just maintaining several societies that we are going to join and work together. We don't need a group of projects and schools and cultures. We really need a group project, a school that can accept everybody with all the background they are enriching the group with, and with all the differences they can use for enriching the whole picture. That's what we do when every school has their own school project with the autonomy to work the curricula in the framework of the official curricula, which is part of the state, part of the autonomy, and part of the territory or the network they work with. And if we think about which are our future challenges, well, it's not just learning or learning how we learn or learning why we learn. I think it's also understanding that we work together in the same spaceship, in the same future challenge, because we are now facing a strong digitalization. I took this picture in Barcelona underground. I asked for permission and they were so fun when they said, I use this in my presentations to show how it's not that young people have a smartphone or they have a device. And it's not that all people use books, it's that all of them are living together in the same environment. And we need to accept that this is a common enrichment. And the tool, whether it's the code or the access to the internet, can be different and can be enriching the whole usage in the society. So our challenge is a strong digitalization, but it also is part of what we want to do with the world. The Sustainable Development Goals we have for 2030 from the United Nations, I think it's part of what we want to face together. You'll see that in the curriculum in every school, in different degrees, different acceptations. And now we are also facing something which is particularly challenging in this moment, which is this pandemic situation, where every school has also developed their own planning for entrances, exits, the timetables, visits, small groups, big groups, usage of open spaces, distance, social distance, and also of self-protection. I think that's part of what we invite you to add, to join, and to enjoy, in the sense that we are really working for something that is building a common future. And it's not just about resources or money, or if we have the know-how, which is also important. And it's not only taking into account that we want an inclusive society with lifelong learning opportunities for everybody. Is that we need to be open to obtain complicities and to really be able to include every sensitivity in what we want for everybody, for all the group in the school, in society, and in a common global culture for the whole planet. So thank you for joining us. You're welcome to this territory and to these challenges that we're going to deal together with. Thank you very much. I'm going to stop sharing now and trying to answer. Okay.
No, we will leave the questions for the end, Neus, okay?
Okay,
so
perfect.
let's now...
I'm going to write down the questions there.
There is just one question. Let's Julie's turn. Julie, okay. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Victor said, my name is Julie Harris and I'm the head teacher at Oak House School in Barcelona. And this year, the president of the BISA Association, the Barcelona International Schools Association. Thank you to the organisers of this event for inviting us to take part. It's a pleasure to be able to represent BISA in this event. And also, I must say, to listen to Neus. And what's really struck me while I was listening was how many features in common we all have. I would say that our common goal, our common future is very similar, depending on whether you're a Catalan school, you're a private school, you're a public school, you're a concertado school, you're a French school. So many of those objectives and ideals are the same for us, the Sustainable Development Goals, etc. So after listening to Nails's presentation, I would like to just give you an overview of the BISA organisation and the different options that you have within Barcelona in the international school world, as well as the range of schools you've got in the public and concertado system. It's actually a wonderful place to be because you've got many great options in all of those areas. So I'm going to now share my screen as well. Okay, share. And okay, so what school do I want for my children was the theme of this afternoon. And just to begin, to give you an overview of our 12 members in the Barcelona International Schools Association. As you can see from the names of these schools, there's a whole range of schools in the association, which enriches us as a community. So we've got American schools, we've got British schools, we've got French, we've got German, we've got IB schools teaching the primary years program, the middle years program, the diploma program, or any combination of those. We have Swiss schools, we have the school which also has an elite tennis academy linked to it, the ES International School. So it's really a rich environment that we're in as a group. The association was formed in 2012, really to help the international education community to benefit from sharing information. It's one of the things that I think if you're not in the public system, you need to make a lot of effort to find those opportunities to share that information, to collaborate on projects, to engage in ongoing conversations with colleagues, with other leaders. And we've managed to achieve this through the BISA organization and really helping to create this educational community within Barcelona. So our overall aim is to strive to improve the quality of education in our member schools. How we do this? Well, as I said, BISA is essentially a supportive community. So school leaders within this community meet regularly, usually every other month. Although I must say that during school closure since March, it's been a lot more frequently, and it really has been an excellent support network for us all to be able to meet up practically every week, I would say, and share experiences, share solutions to problems, to issues, learn from each other. So we plan projects together. One of the really beneficial things that we do is our meetings are held normally, obviously not in this current situation, but normally our meetings are held in each other's schools. So we go, we visit, we learn from each other, we do a tour, we look at projects that each individual school is working on. We reflect on our work together. We share resources, we share professional development opportunities, and we share the best ways that we've found of meeting the educational needs of international schools in Barcelona. We have various activities that we've developed. An annual international university fair. This is in addition to the international university fairs organised, for example, by the British Council. We have student sport tournaments, student talent shows. We've also collaborated with local government and institutions in projects to attract international families to Barcelona as a city. And we really, the organisation, the association serves as a liaison between member schools, local government, local and international education organisations. As well as being members of BISA, most of the member schools are also members of other national or international organisations such as NABS, the National Association of British Schools in Spain, COBIS, American Schools Association, the IB World Organisation, etc. So aiming to have our local support system, but also to maintain that open international outlook on the educational community. The 12 member schools in BISA offer a whole range of educational programs. The majority of these programs are jointly accredited by the individual national educational authority or the International Baccalaureate Association and by the local educational authority. And then this joint accreditation means that the majority of the BISA schools are able to accept local students as well as students from the international community. So members of the international community who move to Barcelona, like many of you, I imagine, have, as I said at the beginning, a wide range of options, both within the BISA organisation as well as within the state and private sector in general in Barcelona. So all 12 of the BISA member schools have got international academic programs from outside of Spain. This is one of the requirements of being a member. So families arriving in Barcelona, ones who are considering the option of an international school, can opt for programs taught primarily in English or French or German. There's also an Italian school in Barcelona. Obviously there's not time this afternoon to go into details about the curriculum or the organisation of each of the member schools, but obviously from their websites and their admissions departments, all of that information can be obtained. And it's inevitable that each of the international schools are influenced by the geographical location in Barcelona, the local culture, the local curriculum. And because the BISA schools also incorporate local language Catalan and Spanish academic programs and requirements into their programs of study. The requirements for the teaching of Catalan and Spanish are regulated by the Education Department of Catalonia, and schools are required to provide students with lessons in Spanish, in Catalan, and history and geography from the local system. So this means that our students also, as well as developing their knowledge of English or French or German, etc., they're also developing their knowledge of both Spanish and Catalan, which enhances their experience of living in Barcelona. As Neo said, what we're all aiming for is plurilingualism and multilingualism, so that the more languages students can learn and the more intercultural understanding that they can develop, the better. There is a mixture of local and international students in most of the BISA schools, which also foments and aids that integration into the local community, which we see as very important. So BISA schools, as the local schools, are aiming to promote international awareness, intercultural understanding, both within the school community and beyond that community. That's an important element for international schools as well. The Catalan inspection system ensures that the foreign schools, international schools, comply with the curricular requirements, the local curricular requirements, and that curricular content can be adapted to meet the needs of international and local students. So obviously the expectations can be different for a local student in one of the international schools to a student who's just arrived. But all students must take classes in Spanish, in Catalan, in history and geography from the local system, which, as I say, is an enriching experience in our view. So students graduating from BISA schools, there's a whole range of final qualifications which they graduate with. It may be the International Baccalaureate diploma, which has been preceded by the primary years program from the IB, or the middle years program from the IB, or it's at the end of following on from other national programs. It can stand alone, the International Baccalaureate diploma. The Swiss Matura, the German DIA, which also combining with the Spanish Bachillerato, the British A-levels, the French Baccalaureate, the Bac, which Niels has mentioned, American high school diploma. And these final qualifications are then validated with the Spanish Bachillerato programs or university entrance requirements. So the students graduating from international schools in Barcelona all have inevitably an international outlook on life. So when they finish, they do have a wide variety of opportunities open to them. They have the American university route, European university route, British universities, and those students in our schools who've acquired a good level of Spanish and Catalan also have the option of accessing the excellent range of further education opportunities available in Barcelona. They've got the choice from public or private universities with their offers in Catalan, Spanish, and now there's many more opportunities to study in English at university level in Barcelona. So in trying to think about the factors to bear in mind when choosing an international school, there are many. I've just pulled together a few of the factors that have been occurring to me. Which principal language do you want your child to be schooled in? There's a wide variety of offers there. Is there a national curriculum that you want your child to follow? Do you want them to follow the German curriculum, the French curriculum, the British curriculum, the American curriculum? The pedagogical approach you want for your child. Each school will, in their visits or on their websites, will be able to specify quite clearly their pedagogical approach. And you need to be comfortable with the approach that you're selecting. Other things to think about: how the school meets the diverse needs of pupils, either for additional learning support or challenge for high achieving students or emotional support for the students. What professional development opportunities does the school offer staff? This is a key feature in keeping a school dynamic and moving forward and developing. That staff professional development is a key feature in that. Do you want a school with a higher or lower percentage of local pupils? See, there's implications with that. If you have a school with a higher percentage of local pupils, then maybe the language of the playground in general, maybe in Castellano or in Catalan. A lower percentage, maybe there's more groups speaking in English or in German or in French. What size of school do you want? Do you want a small school? Do you want a large school? There are schools in BISA ranging from just over 100 students to nearly 3,000 students. So there's a whole variety of types of schools. In which location? If you're arriving in Barcelona, do bear the location in mind when thinking about where you live and where your child's going to go to school, because it's a busy city and you need to make sure that you're able to get to the school that you've chosen. How much importance do you place on the facilities? Are there specific facilities that you want as a parent? And I would say visiting the schools is really important, because there are many excellent schools in Barcelona, and there's an ideal school for everyone. but some parents may value some aspects more than other aspects. And so it's a question of asking questions, visiting the school, asking about the school's values, their mission statement, and making sure that that's a fit with you as a person or as a family, and that those values are the values that you want to be instilled and in your child or your young adult that you're putting into that school. Those were the key things that occurred to me when thinking about parents choosing an international school for their child, but actually they apply, I would say, to any school that you're looking for, whether it be international or not. So that's a brief presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, Julie. Thank you, Neus. We have some questions already in the chat. I think Neus already answered one of them, the first one. They were asking about if it's necessary to know Catalan at scholar stage. I guess if you have a child arriving who does not know Catalan. And was it you who answered that, Neus, who said no?
Yes,
okay.
Of course, we understand that everybody can come from, well, we have children coming from China, South America, North America, wherever. So they don't need to know Catalan before starting. Not only that, there is a complete program of welcoming children with different languages. And every school have their own protocol. Every school have their own particular professional, which is devoted to help families to insert themselves in the community, not only in the school, but also in the environment, the village, the town, whatever. And I just put the link with the main references in several languages, but it's just direct for families that wanted to know something about the system itself and the process to get into. We have something called Aula d'Acollida, which is the initial schooling class where they start understanding that they are not only one language, but two languages at the same time that they are going to see and notice in the street. And then we start working with them to be close to their initial starting point, whatever it is.
Okay, so it's not necessary to know Catalan, but they will end up knowing Catalan if they stay here for more than a course, let's say.
For sure. They will learn. In 3 months, a child can understand something and start communicating. It's not a problem. It is true that they are free of Catalan exams for 2 years. So if they are here just several months, they don't have to pass the Catalan exam. And just having that, they also have support for doing the exams in their own language or the Spanish that they know it or whatever. But if they are here 2 years, the 3rd year, they have to start examining. I mean, they have to take the exam because it's like being in any other country. More than 2 years here, which you should know a little bit to go on.
Okay. Another question. Hola, this is for Julia, I believe. All international schools give dual diploma. Which difference and how to choose a really good school? Or this could be for both of you. Can you say, it's the same, I'm reading because it's the same person who is asking. Can you say your opinion about school concertados? ¿Cuál es mejor? This is a mixture. Just one thing that I think that the audience must know. Concertados schools are private schools who get public subsidies. So, but they are private schools, so there are some things that, that they can do that public school don't. Well, I'm not explaining that well, but the thing is that, as Neus has said, every school has its own autonomy. So it's really difficult to say which one is better and which one is not. As Julie said, the best thing and what every Catalan family does is to visit several schools which they have heard about in the neighborhood or whatever, before in the process of choosing that school, before asking not to get to one school or the other. But the question was, all the international schools give dual diploma?
Not exactly. All of the Nails can correct me if I'm wrong here, but when students finish, when they graduate from the international schools, for example, if they graduate with the IB diploma, then that's validated against the selectividad fase general, so the general phase of the university entrance exam, which is called selectividad. And so the students can then apply for universities in Spain, or in Catalonia, if they choose to. They also have to do, depending on the course that we're applying for, they do have to do then 2 additional exams in a second phase of selectividad if they want to enter a course which has a high access mark. So, for example, medicine. So, yes, those qualifications are validated here. They're recognized. They're recognized within the system here, but to access universities, public universities here, there is another step that they need to do with most of those national qualifications. If they, the students who get their final qualification validated to the bachillerato, the Spanish bachillerato, have to have done certain requirements. For example, they have to have studied Catalan for 2 years. They have to have studied the required parts of the bachillerato program as well, if they want truly dual qualifications. Well, is that correct, Nails? That's as I
Nails, we cannot hear you.
Yes.
I've noticed. Thank you. Basically, yes, it depends on the it depends on the particular studies that particular student has done. So if they've done, I don't know, the French baccalaureate, but they've not passed the Catalan part of the baccalaureate, they can't have the recognition of both. If they are doing the international one and they are not doing the Spanish part, they are not going to have the Spanish recognized. But even with the international one, they could apply to some private universities in Spain that would allow them to go, not the public ones. To do the public one, they have to do that sort of merging that you said, or having the exams properly done at the end of the bachillerato course.
I think it's something for parents to ask quite specifically in individual schools, because I'm sorry I sounded a bit vague then, but it does depend very much on exactly what they've studied, which parts of the program they've studied, and whether that is going to be recognized or not. And
two simple examples. There are some schools that do the international baccalaureate only for those students who already have the language levels. Others do it for everybody, but if they don't pass the language, they won't have the international baccalaureate, but they study the same. So it depends on how they've done it. They've already achieved part of it or not, so they will miss something, or they will have everything. So it's just a very specific question.
And the international baccalaureate as well can be studied in English or in French or in Spanish, and so, or a mixture of those languages. So sometimes people assume international baccalaureate is only in English. It's not. It can be, there are 3 official languages for the IB. So there are things for parents to ask quite specific questions.
Yes.
Let's try to go straight to the answer, because we only have 11 minutes left. Okay, there is someone asking if the local high school students, they can apply for European universities.
Yes, the Catalan universities are in the common European education system space for higher education. So it's in Bologna system. It's just the whole Europe is unified in that aspect. But The same that some students for going to universities here, even being local, they need an extra exam or level or language or whatever, even art or sport. The same can happen in other countries. It depends on the study they want to do and the previous obligatory or baccalaureate studies they've done. So that's something to check in every country and every specific study too. But yes, they are in the same European space.
Okay, someone asks also, which as a question that I'm going to read as it is, because I really don't understand the meaning. Did you review the specialization options that have to be selected for baccalaureate? I don't understand the question. Did you review which options? There are some options to get to baccalaureate. Oh, okay.
I don't get that.
Okay,
question.
let's please the person try to ask that again, and we'll try to go there. There are two persons asking about Down syndrome and if schools have integration, and if there are and as a matter of fact, I am a father of a Down syndrome boy, so I can explain my own experience. My son is already 20 years old, but he did all their studies in the normal ordinary system in a public school, both primary and secondary. Well, there we had some good experience, not so good experience, but I think it was positive, most of it. No? So I encourage to try to find an inclusive way. As I said before, although all schools should be the same, the reality, at least from my point of view, is that not all schools are the same. So you have to inform yourself and try to get the best school for your child. And if it's not, then you go to the administration, you go to NEUS and tell her that that school is not working, so she will do something about it. Okay. But Julie, I don't know. What about your schools? What about international schools? Do they believe in inclusive education?
Many of the schools, yes, have an inclusive education policy, but it depends on each school. It depends on, that was one of the points that I identified that parents should look into. What does the school offer to cater with diverse needs of students? Because maybe they offer up to a certain level of support, but not beyond that. But it's something that each school will have their own policy on, and it will vary about how inclusive they are as a school.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but I believe all the rest, I think people are answering the other things. So let me ask you one question, Julie. Do you know how many international schools are around Barcelona? Because I believe they are not all in your association, are they?
No, the ones who are in the BISA association are ones that are recognized or inspected by foreign systems. So either the British or the American system, and they're inspected by those systems, and then they have a final leaving certificate, which is a foreign leaving certificate or the International Baccalaureate one. So there are other schools around Barcelona who essentially would be recognized by the Catalan authorities, and they have, as Neil said, there's quite a lot of flexibility in the system here. And so they may have their own curriculum, which complies with the requirements here, but they're not actually inspected by a foreign education authority or nationality.
Mm-hmm. Do you get your former students that have settled down in Barcelona and that have had sons, do they come back to your schools, or do they prefer to go to the ordinary ones, let's say?
We at OCAS personally, we have quite a lot of children of ex-students, but we also have quite a large local percentage of local students, so they do tend to stay around. They also, when they finish, and I think this is true of most of the international schools, there's a really wide range of next steps that they take. So some do stay here in public universities or private universities, others go, and then often, I think because of the nature of Barcelona, because of the type of place it is to live, the agreeable place it is to live, often they come back and then they're looking for schools in Barcelona. Mm-hmm. But yes, we have, and I think probably other schools do have quite a lot of ex-students, the children of ex-students in the school.
Okay. No one asks about the price, but I think that is something that must interest fathers, I believe, no? Because public schools are free. Concertades schools would supposed to be free, but at the end they make you pay some like a donation or something to help the schools. This would be a long debate, a long thing to talk about. And what about the international schools? What is the average price or that you have?
I'm not really sure about the average price. I think they probably range from about 8,000 euros a year to maybe 15. Again, that's something that would be easily, readily available on the website of each school or inquiring, because obviously it's an important factor for people to bear in mind if they're considering one of these kind of schools.
Of course. And well, we have only, I don't know if there is something else that you want to say, but my last question is going to be for Neus. Maybe, again, no one has asked, but I think it's important to say something more about the pandemic situation we are living in. I believe there has been, there has been a debate whether if the schools should be open or not, if that is a wise idea or not. And so so far, how has been the experience opening the schools and moving like around 1.5 million students that we have in Catalonia?
Well, I'm just going to reproduce what the professionals are saying. Actually, professionals in the healthcare systems are saying that schools are doing very well. And looking at the data, it's true. I have to say that there is a very low rate of infection there, less than 1%, really, really low. That is highly tracked. It is highly tracked in the sense that they are following the people who just are declared positive, and close parents, relatives, or classmates with a particular app, but also calling directly to families one by one and doing all sorts of testing, high level of testing really in the schools. It is true that every single school has their own plan on the web. That's compulsory. So now if you have any doubt, go to the school web and download the plan they've done, because they say not only the timetable, but all the conditions on mask, distance, entrances, relationship, playground time, all the information you might need, not only what's happening now, but in case something else happens, what are they going to do? So they have a lot of information, very detailed and very organic. It changes according to the instructions of government, instructions of education, and instructions of healthcare, Sanitat. So I think they are doing quite well.
Okay. Can I just say that that also applies to the Cap Escoles reaction in private schools as well. It's very, very good, I would say, and working very well.
You mean the CAP system?
The CAP system when we...
CAP is the health system, eh? The health,
yes, the health system related to the schools.
The primary attention, yes.
Yeah, it's not just working well for the state schools, it's also working really well for the private schools as well.
Perfect. Okay, so that's it. We have to leave it here. You have to be very punctual. If you have any further questions, write us and we'll try to answer them. And specifically I will be really pleased to give more information for those who have had these inquiries about the Down syndrome issue. Okay, so thank you very much and have a good time in Barcelona.